little Julian Pastry time car, but for this match, I got myself a fresh new color caster. It's Joshua Jat Leesman.
Got to switch him out because you know the color casters are the ones that use all the energy.
Exactly.
So it's gonna be fun.
We're gearing up for the Battle Theater's second match of the day as Team EnVy take on Team Liquid. And Team EnVy have surprised more fans yesterday with their win over what looked to be a strong Immortals.
Yeah, and netting a third match win here against Team Liquid would actually mean Team EnVy would have as many wins in 2 weeks that took them the entire spring split. They only had 3 match wins that entire spring, and it does actually seem possible. The team is showing signs of macro. Apollo pointed out in his interview yesterday, and that's on top of the fact that the players we've kind of taken for granted, like Apollo, has been playing in a standout way. He actually got a player of the game last night, which doesn't sound like a huge thing since every other AD carry got it in the spring, but he was unable to do so in the entirety of the split, so he's looking up as well.
A lot of firsts here for EnVy in the summer, and we'll see if he can keep up with those performances against Team Liquid, who come into this match as underdogs based on their Week 1 results, still 0-2.
Yeah, roster swaps as well. Golden Clue returns to the starting lineup in hopes of shaking off that initial performance he had last week. I do think, as well as his performance, it does depend a lot on jungle attention as well. Reignover is a guy, a former MVP of the league, has not had that type of performance that we've expected since he joined the Team Liquid roster, and really needs to step it up, especially when Team Liquid is thinking about the wins they're going to pick up this year and circling things on their calendar. You would circle the EnVy game, the last place team from last split, to try and pick up, not the TSM game they have coming up later or the Immortals game they have coming up later as well. So it's very important for Team Liquid to pick up a win here, as it is for both teams.
Certainly is. Need momentum on their side. And let's review the starting lineups on the blue side. To start things off, it is Team EnVy. In the top lane, Seraph, jungle Lyra, mid Pyrian, bot Apollo, support Hakuo, and new coach Violet.
Things have been working out so well for them early on in the year. Not so much for Team Liquid, who is starting on the red side here. Loyal in the top lane, Reignover in the jungle, Golden Glue back in mid lane, bot lane of Piglet and Matt, with David Lim, who is on stage because they are still awaiting the visa of their new coach King.
Yep, certainly kind of waiting for things to fall into place. It does seem to be sort of the story of Liquid this year. Little things have plagued them back and forth, but unfortunately for them, the big thing that has eluded them has been results. And like you said, a win here just to get a little bit more positivity on the team, a bit more momentum for them. It means so much for a team that should have all of the tools to make a huge run this summer.
Yeah, and also the team has been put a little bit on blast by the community as well, because their messaging and the things they've been saying haven't necessarily matched up with what you see on the Rift. I mean, even going back to last split, when they moved Piglet to mid and brought in Youngbin on short notice, and we had their owner, Steve, saying he was playing like double lift in some scrims, and then he comes and loses by 30 CS in every game and is immediately pulled out the next game as the AD carry. It doesn't match up. And the same thing was kind of true with Golden Glue. I got to speak to Team Liquid's management before, and they have said that they haven't necessarily been that transparent with the community with what they're trying to do. But they did say that the Golden Glue and Slushy thing is dependent on scrim and comp. That's what they're saying. So they're expecting to swap them back and forth a little bit more this split, and they're actually hoping to do that with multiple roles on their roster when they can fill all of their sub positions. He said the other one that may see some swaps back and forth would even be Matt and Conquan. So you never know exactly what Team Liquid is going to come out with. It's Golden Glue today.
Certainly is, at least for game number 1. We'll see what happens here in the draft, though. And we're going to start things off with their 2 blue side bans, Olaf and Rengar targeting the jungle. Liquid respond in kind with a Lee Sin ban, so could see a lot of jungle attention here.
Yeah, and I think it's in EnVy's best interest to throw a bunch of jungle bans out. I mean, Reignover has been one of the best junglers in the league before, but he has operated with smaller champion pools and sometimes niche champions and not always playing everything. Whereas when Lyra's smashing, he's doing it on Nidalee and a bunch of random stuff sometimes. So I think it's in their best interest to get rid of the Olaf, the Rengar, 2 of the picks Reignover might be better on, especially when Reignover's throwing bans Lyra's way.
Yeah, kind of have to throw a Zac ban on the red side, so a bit of extra value targeting jungle there. Kennen is the last ban for Team Liquid, and Shen will join the litter, which means that Elise is an easy first pick here for an aggressive jungler like Lyra. This pick is already getting smashed in every single ban phase.
Yeah, you usually don't see Elise this split. I mean, it's hard to kind of guess exactly why it's so big now as compared to in the spring when it wasn't, but you can get a lot of advantages off early pressure, especially with Rift Herald being up at 10 minutes now and having such large impact. They get the Elise, but they trade over the duo.
Yep, Xayah and Rakan, 2 pretty easy picks that almost always go together. We've seen Matt and Piglet play Rakan and not Xayah, so I imagine this one might be a little more successful. There's Karma though for EnVy. That's, I think, Hakuo is most played of the split so far. Again, very low sample size, and Apollo the trusty Caitlyn is going to be his selection.
Yeah, I mean, already that core for Team EnVy can fit into so many different team compositions. It is already very strong in the early game. That's a type of duo lane, along with the Elise that you would look to take the bottom lane turret as your first in the game. So if you're trying to think of Team Liquid now, you want ways to prevent that. Galio would be one. He can always teleport or ult down. That can also be in the mid lane if they want to. So a nice flexible pick picked up early.
Yeah, really nice. Clean first phase draft here for Liquid. It's all ban away Fiora, kind of saying, at least attempting to say, we want to play this in the top lane. We're going to ban away one of the counters to top Galio.
Yeah, or at least maintain the flexibility of being able to play it in the top lane, because it's definitely been more of a popular mid lane pick in Korea. Hasn't necessarily found the same success in the mid lane over in North America, but still a solid pick nonetheless.
Syndra ban though, so mid lane target there. Liquid, another top slash mid laner, but kind of depends a lot on matchup there as Jace is taken away from both from Seraph primarily, who hasn't turned up already on it, but Tropirian could give it a go if he wants to.
Yeah, Seraph still would have the ability to pick Rumble, but so would Lorlo. And when you do see Galio mid, it fits very well with Rumble, so you kind of switch your tank and damage threats in there. But Ivern has totally different ideas of what they're going to do.
So Liquid
Wait for the counter pick.
Like you said, great core built by both teams in their first phase, but Ivern is already ready. And Rainover, certainly someone that has struck me as a supportive jungler in the past. I'm not sure how much Ivern he's exactly played in recent games, but again, a pick that certainly makes sense, and they've built kind of a nice comp for themselves to protect Piglet, who's a very good late game AD carry. On the other side, though, Tyrion is taking Talia, so this is kind of the obvious blind pick that he almost always has, and I like this actually from Seraph, going top Jarvan is the final pick of EnVy's draft.
Yeah, so it fills in with meta picks for them. They had to kind of pick both of those, mostly blind though, because either one of them could theoretically be going up against Galio. Golden Glue's going to lock into Cassiopeia. Speak to the Ivern a little bit. Rainover, I feel like he's the type of jungler who is expected to be amazing on Ivern, because Rainover had the best pathing in the North American LCS and was always amazing at setting up plays. But he's played it twice and he's lost both games.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something he isn't the most comfy on, or Team Liquid isn't the most comfy playing around it, but he's got to go with it here.
I like the Cassio as well, kind of completes that comp. Piglet has a big kind of fortress to play in. He's got Cassio to protect him. People dive him. He's got 2 supports. He's got a great frontliner. If there's ever a game where Piglet is going to exceed well beyond his normal measures, it will be this game.
Yeah, very effective team fighting composition Team Liquid has put together there. Matt has the ability to initiate from long range. They have a tremendous ability to protect not only Piglet's Xayah, but also Golden Glue's Cassiopeia, who has a large amount of sustained magic damage as well. It'll be on EnVy to kind of try and shove lanes, spread out the map, and win early.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of been EnVy's MO all year long. They love to get ahead early, but were struggling to convert in spring. Pyrian, especially his Talia, has helped a lot, and so has EnVy's general work they've done as a team to all improve. Really very few changes to this roster apart from the obvious one in mid, so EnVy looking to start things off as well as they have here in summer and get themselves a 3rd win.
Yeah, and that's just insane when we think about it, right? Because EnVy was the 10th place team in the spring at 3-15, and they are coming into this game as the favorites, and if they win, they move to 3-1. 14 fewer losses than it took them to get to 3 wins in the last split, and they're set up to do it. Both these teams actually have win conditions.
We'll see if EnVy are going to end the week with yet another win, or if TL have something to say about it. Game 1 will tell us a lot, and look, like a little 4-stack here from TL, actually moving almost everybody down towards this bottom lane. We might have something fun prepared.
Yeah, almost everyone. They're trying to keep Lorlo to watch for wards coming into the red buff. It's very important for the Ivern to have a little bit of early information if he wants to be more creative with his jungle path. They were just hoping that Apollo and Hakuho would be moving up for vision. No one to be found, and I think they're just going to kind of reset back to their jungle.
Saw a question mark ping in mid lane, so Pyrian checking for his mid lane opponent. Does not see him at least in front of the turret. Oh, Matt! Blind brush play, but does not quite snag Apollo. He was standing in about the right spot.
Yep, tried to make his entrance pretty grand. Wasn't quite able to do so, and that tells EnVy to go invade, get wards on the red buff. So, since they didn't get anything from an information perspective from Team Liquid, I think that actually is just to advantage EnVy. Apollo was actually in a pretty dangerous spot, but gets away with it.
Yep, standing in kind of the safest part of the brush. EnVy cut off the potential other invade for TL to deny them all their vision. And we do have that nice clean brush ward next to the Raptor camp, which is not where Reignover is starting right now. Lolo's actually there right now, just kind of guarding it. But it looks like Reignover is going to start on blue. So we can now start talking about Ivern jungle paths, which are as varied as they are interesting.
Yeah, and they've changed a little bit because, remember, Ivern actually did get nerfed. It costs him more health and mana to channel camps early on in the game, and I'm actually not entirely sure what Reignover is going for. He smites his red buff and should be walking back towards his blue, so he's just doing the conservative level 4 clear, most likely. Although, he didn't channel his Gromp, so he won't be getting the fast level 4. And he also needs to wait on some resources. That's why he waited a few seconds there. All of his mana was used to channel that camp. Now he's channeled blue as well as wolves, so he'll pick those up and then kind of loop back over the other side.
Seems like with, again, all the changes, players have still figured out the most efficient way to get things done with Ivern. And use that blast cone, easy channel on the blue, and there's double bust. Quick as you like for Reignover, who's now going to mark that Gromp.
Yeah.
He's chilling. Again, you have to wait. I mean, you can see the nerfs in effect just based on the few seconds that Reignover is losing.
Yeah, I need to take the new changes into the lab a little bit and see if you can do faster routes, because people have gotten pretty amazing at a 3-minute, 18-second full clear of the jungle as Ivern, and that's just not... I don't think it's possible anymore with the way the math works out, but I'm pretty surprised Reignover didn't smite the blue right away and then walk over to channel red. The reason he would have modified his route there is because they didn't have control over the wards that Lyra placed in. He was probably worried about his red getting stolen. So that level 1, I think, played out in Reignover's jungle path and delayed him a little bit.
Well, you can see Golden Glue and Purian actually going mano in the mid lane. Unfortunately, with Purian, you lose almost every single trade against Cassio where she has mana. So Golden Glue didn't run out, and Purian is going to have to kind of heal himself back up. Actually, both of them took heal. It's kind of a fun one as well. So kind of aware of the all-in potential that either one has, and wanting to stay a little safer.
Yeah, and I think the Golden Glue Purian matchup is pretty fascinating. I mean, you just look at the arc for both of these players. Purian sat on the bench an entire split with Phoenix 1. I mean, he's never really been on a super successful team. Same said for Golden Glue. Both these guys have had to deal with other people being put in ahead of them. And, I mean, Purian has been the one kind of doing what Golden Glue keeps wanting to do, having those breakout performances in the LCS and getting some of the wins. So it would be huge if Golden Glue could take down Purian here for his morale.
Looking good so far. Double Dorans and some consumables now up for Purian. Looks like Golden Glue's going to go back. Has that early tier as Apollo throws some shots into the back of Matt and his Rakan, as is almost expected at this point of every Caitlyn lane. Apollo and Hako off to another good start.
Yeah, and until Team Liquid decide to go aggressive, in which they do have a fair amount of kill pressure because they can get the knock-up from the Rakan and chain it with the root from Xayah, they're going to get shoved in. Almost no question. It's a very hard lane to play against, the Caitlyn Karma. It doesn't really have any bad matchups. The way you stop it is by ganking them and getting kills, but that's just not in the cards right now, as Reignover's just been picking up his camps.
Yeah, Ivan just kind of have to speed things up, making sure things are okay, and Matt and Piglet might be alright with the current state of this lane. We'll see if that changes. Back, and a TP in the top side, actually. Lolo back onto a minion. Seraph, not quite enough distance on the flag and drag for a bit of poke, but he's going to go back anyway, so it doesn't cost him too much.
Yeah, he had been ahead in CS for that entire little sequence. Needs to go back anyway. No problem.
Nice attention there from Golden Glue, actually backing up at the right moment. Lyra was going for a pretty big wraparound gank. Not able to find the angle for the Cocoon, which is a rare thing for Lyra. He's got some of the best ganking prowess in the whole league. Seraph, though, has TP'd back. He's got triple longsword back, a Jarvan classic in the top lane.
Yeah, match though with the young Dorn shield and cloth armor, so it's going to be hard to push Lorlo in on Galio.
Again, Galio, pretty tough to deal with in general. Hako looking for the root, lands it in onto Xayah. Trap not going to quite connect in time.
That hurts.
Needed that to charge, and now Hako getting ignited. Matt's going to chase him down, root in onto Apollo. Because EnVy's duo, they rarely do this, but they actually lose a 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, it all happens when they don't chain the trap with Karma's root. So that just signals Piglet and Matt to go aggressive immediately. You can see the kill pressure that duo actually has on them. Piglet was going to line up the root on Hakuo, which forced an early flash, and then with no Karma to hit, they just bursted down Apollo for a fair bit of damage.
Well, not sure what's been happening on the other side, but minutes in or so, and we have yet another first Drake Infernal here on the V stream. The battle theater has been filled with fire all day today. I believe that is the fifth straight, I can't do math, fourth straight game in a row where we've had Infernal Drake be the first one.
Oh, Lyra. Yeah, there's no Rengar in this game, so we won't have a 700 attack damage triple Infernal Rengar two-shotting
700 attack damage?
Yeah, you don't get to see that sometimes when you're casting, but I was checking on stream, paying like really close attention, because you're getting... He already... This is way off topic, but if you go back and watch the COG game, triple Infernal Drake on an AD Rengar, because he gets so much from his passive already, like the multipliers just become insane, and you get into some ridiculous numbers.
Well, that was a pretty ridiculous game from Dardic, but we'll tunnel back in onto EnVy versus TL's first game here. No action just yet around the Drakes, but important to note that, again, we could have some very early action as the team's likely looking to fight around those highly prized objectives. As it is right now, though, everyone just kind of farming away, and we have seen this a bit more from EnVy. Lyra, you know, who's a great ganker, he loves to play aggressive, but EnVy have been a bit more measured. They've been confident in a lot of their lanes, and you can see right now, with the exception of mid lane, everything's looking good for EnVy, and almost all the lanes are even as far as total CS goes. In fact, EnVy have a pretty sizable gold lead just on farm.
Yeah, and the important thing to note in the early game is not even just looking at the gold. Look at the push. Look at the way the minion waves are naturally settling, how much time EnVy is spending on Team Liquid's side of the map. Iron's not a type of jungler who actually is good at rescuing losing lanes. He brings very low damage in ganks, and if Elise matches him, Elise is going to win that 2v2, at least before you can pull up Daisy at level 6. So not much is releasing this pressure from Team Liquid, and that's allowed some deep wards that are now expiring to kind of get in there from EnVy. So, I mean, if Lyra is unable to convert on any kills here, it would be a little bit of an advantage for Team Liquid, because I really think they're building towards the teamfight phase, but it's a struggle there because they have a lot of pushing lanes against them.
Another attempted run from Hakua, but Golden Goose playing very respectfully with people missing from their lanes. And looks like Renova is level 6, so can add Daisy to the party. But Matt, I think, is also looking for that first major level spike, because we've seen time and time again how Rakan, especially, of course, we highlight Aphromoo earlier in the season, just how instantly you can make a play. And so TL will have tools to play with here if they want to get something going themselves.
Yeah, the late game team fighting from Team Liquid is awesome. If Matt can get the right combo off into Piglet using the Feather Storm as well as Cassiopeia, we got to see it already with that exact kind of champion combo, and it's an insane amount of damage. Cloud9 did it yesterday evening, so Team Liquid wants to reach that point, and EnVy doesn't.
Well, everything's pretty relaxed right now, at least for TL. And it was just kind of strolling through the right-hand side of the jungle. Did secure the Scuttle Crab for himself. And a red buff over to Lyra. Pyrion covering. Maybe just waiting for the lane to come towards him as Golden Glue actually up, still 10 CS. There's a pretty arresting hold on that 1v1 matchup. Piglet in the meantime, BF Sword first. Kind of figured out a Sheik Desire build at this point, so it should be pretty standard for both these bot laners. And now a Drake actually tempted by TL. I think they have enough space, or at least enough potential if something was to happen. Matt's now level 6. Pyrion does check with the wall and doesn't quite get them far enough out of the pit. That's Drake over to Team Liquid.
Yeah, just great timing on the way they go down there. Pyrion, I believe, was back in base, and just the waves had been pushed almost the whole game. The fact that they could just walk down there with the timely collapse and get the Drake is a huge boon for them.
Might have been TP advantage for Lawler. Can't say exactly, but regardless, Team Liquid make a proactive play. Very safe, but really good. Golden Glue, though, chasing on to Pyrion, who's missed his shot. This is the bad time for Talia. Golden Glue equipments the ulti. Just wants to try and get the damage down, but Lyra cocoons one on. Now chasing in. That's first blood for Matt, actually, as he flashes in towards it. Propel up for release. No, we're good to go for Lyra, but he does have flash. Not enough. Piglet able to get the second kill for TL.
What a massive win there for Team Liquid. Not only getting the Drake, and the teleport advantage was big there, as Seraph had used a teleport to get the CS advantage in lane, but just basically having Golden Glue starting with a positive trade on Pyrion, and then everyone else being first to the realm. Matt using that massive engage range to clean up the kill with Rakan, but Golden Glue was pretty much just going aggressive and fairly blind aggressive. I mean, Rainover was there, and then Hakuho and Matt, but who can arrive first to KS the kill is Matt. And then Lyra, since he no longer had a mid laner, is caught as well. So for a team that is a stronger team fighting group in Team Liquid right there, getting the Infernal Drake and the early kills is huge.
Yep, weathering the storm sort of to level 6 and then able to make a play and pick up that first major objective. Pyrion now just going to shove this wave back to the turret. Golden Glue is returning, but Does appear to be tier plus Rod of Ages on the way for Golden Glue. I believe it's a build that Faker has been popularizing. Surprise! He's teaching people stuff in mid lane again.
Now, we've seen a few people go with Banshee's Veil as well if they're trying to play more defensive, but Golden Glue with that lead now on Tapirian. Also got to call out the Sightstone on Reignover. Most Iverns will just opt for a very quick redemption rush, but the Sightstone is a little bit of a throwback to Reignover's dominating days, where he would cover the map with Sightstone. And if you're going to do it on a jungler, Ivern is one that it works on.
Well, kind of cool to see from Reignover, but he could be caught here. Going to spot Lyra with a good bit of brush made. Lyra instead will ward it. Currently has 2 brushes watered, but that will expire as Lyra exits the area. Hardcore getting some poke down. Matt and Piglet going to tank that, but again, just kind of sweeping that vision out with Scry's Blooms helping them spot some of that vision. TL protecting their wards though, and Matt going to zip. Oh, no, not quite over the wall. Thought Zaya was there to help him. Matt, even he's formulating a play to spot Lyra with the root caller. And again, TL just trying to kind of force themselves into the jungle. And Lyra, when he's getting invaded like this, it is so tough for an aggressive jungler.
Yeah, I mean, look at where Golden Glue is. That's the whole problem. But now there's an early TP from Jarvan. They're going to want to kill Golden Glue.
All right.
Lolo's got a match.
Pretty all in. Here's the TP coming out. Good stun lands into the Jarvan. Reignover combo is in with a root. Now Daisy is getting some of it. Lyra is going to take on down. Ultimate not enough there. As a 2v2 in bottom lane almost takes down Hako. Quickness popped by Matt already, but Apollo's forced to run away.
Just a very late match on the teleport there from Lorlo. He may not have seen Seraph teleporting in the first place, which could contribute to it. But if Galio was there, Team Liquid may have had an edge there since they were pushing Lyra around, but instead it gets turned around and that loses the pressure in the mid lane.
Yep, big cooldowns committed, but EnVy do come up with a kill for themselves. Managing to defend Lyra as Seraph going to drag through mid and move his way back towards the top side of the map. Reignover's trying very hard to channel this buff, but at least pretty good at interrupting as there's another knock-up attempt, but does miss Hako as Apollo firing back in. A big root there as Matt dances back towards Piglet. That's going to be a 2v2 kill. Piglet nabs it.
Just patience waiting in the brush. EnVy had assumed that Team Liquid had gone back to base. They had not. Gonna watch this one more time though. Golden Good is trying to trade with Pyrian. Sees Seraph. That's when the teleport goes to match. He actually lands a nice ultimate and dodges the cocoon, so does about as much as he can to try and stay alive there. Reignover can't get in range to help early enough. And Lola has to flash away since they were down, but Golden Glue has been a player who has struggled with nerves on stage, and after making an aggressive invade with his jungler to get wards, to die in a situation like that is not something I necessarily want to pin onto Golden Glue, but we have to see how he plays from here on out since the nerves have been a problem in the past.
Yep, certainly something to look out for, and the Rift Herald over to EnVy is a nice bit of advantage also. Gold is even, so the expected turret that the Rift Herald will break does kind of give EnVy a potential goal lead of about 1,000, but we'll see if they can do more damage or if TL can defend it. We have seen teams kind of quickly adapt to defending a very new objective, which has been impressive to see.
Yeah, you almost never see more than one turret taken by the Rift Herald, and if it's a full health turret, you often don't see that go down either. It's pretty much just the first charge of the Rift Herald with how quickly teams are rotating to defend it.
See if EnVy can formulate some sort of plan. Excellent stream is done for Piglet, so he's having a happy time. Auto-attacking down. Creep still behind very slightly on CS, so Apollo isn't too upset about what's happening, but a siege is starting. Daisy is ready. Just an Ivern classic. Gonna shove down the turret, no help needed. Matt looks for the engage, but doesn't get it. Quickness is gonna get channeled down, but the root from Hako is gonna keep around. There's Pyrian on the wrong side. Maybe no, the shove is good, but Daisy's blocking the threat of volleys. Oh, it's a disaster. Daisy down.
Yeah, Daisy's the only one that got caught on the other side of the Weaver's wall right there, so a swing and a miss for EnVy. The question will be now if they can try and match this turret. First turret did go to Team Liquid though, which is not what EnVy would have wanted with the Karma and the Caitlyn bottom lane, but here comes!
Especially with the Rift Herald, but this should be enough for at least the first one. Can they get any more Rift Heralds coming in? No! Doesn't quite get the one shot.
Still trying to defend though, they might get it.
No, turret's gonna go down. Oh, the backdoor bonus, yep, does stay alive long enough. Rift Herald dies as the last shot of the turret goes in. So it is a trade overall for EnVy, but like we said, you very rarely get more than one.
Yeah, and today is Infernal Day, so Matt very low. EnVy want to keep this pressure up.
Shot from Pyrian, chunks down onto Matt and Piglet. Golden Glue also stacking there, so EnVy now the first to this objective.
Yep, swinging back in a big way. Still only 16 minutes in, so we're not anywhere in the late game that you kind of wait for. Zaya, I feel like, gets strongest after 3 items. Cassiopeia needs that time to scale up as well. So a lot of patience needed and very close game.
And if my eyes do not deceive me, which they do not, we have a third Infernal Drake coming up, as the first two have been split by EnVy and TL.
That's as many as we can get. You can only get 3 of the single Drake spawn in the same game, so no team will get triple Infernal today, or in this game.
No, not in this
they
game.
Will today. That happened
already on the stream. As people are recoiling, going to spend their gold. EnVy Apollo up towards the top side of the map, going to get that sieging for himself. And EnVy are going to try and, again, kind of do your standard rotations. TL going to match, moving Piglet, and I assume Matt, who's just busy warding down towards the left-hand side of mid. But Apollo, Infinity Edge completed. First made Adam Thumb for both these bot laners, so the 2v2 will continue. So you can get the better end of the siege in that now top lane.
Yeah, and Piglet and Matt are showing up a little bit in this game, which is what they need to do, quite honestly, because these guys have actually been laning together for close to 2 years right now, and
yeah, it does feel,
show success.
It does feel like this was a combination that could have been so good for so long, but have yet to really show the kind of the ceiling, I feel like, on the duo. And now Matt may be caught. Ceiling starting to crumble. Tyrion roaming up here as well. Good little quickness to try and disengage him, but Piglet forced to flash over the wall. Still kiting around. Does get the root as Rainover lands in and forces Tyrion to flash away. TL will teleport Lola, who does cancel.
And that's TP advantage for EnVy Seraph after that entire exchange plays through. They survive it. Question will be, though, do they lose the turret? Because they just had to recall both of their bot laners.
It does feel like TL, I mean, it's nice that they're coming together trying to make these plays, but a little bit frantic, trying to make sure nothing bad happens. And I think it's just a sign of a team that is still building that synergy, building things together, whereas EnVy look much more on the same page. You know, we've got enough, we can defend this, and they even get the turret out of it.
Yeah, and this will be a big question as we move throughout the game. I mean, Team Liquid has had some pretty amazing starts to games. We saw their game against COG where they had 4 kills right at the start, pretty much in the first couple minion waves, and then did nothing with the lead. So in this game, they're definitely not trying to be that proactive, because aside from Matt's Rakan, they don't have that many supportive tools. Or, sorry, what would it be, proactive tools.
Yeah, and Matt kind of is the big one that does have to show up on this playmaking support. We've seen highlight after highlight, and Matt is going to try and make some of his own.
Exactly, and we're going to have to balance that with EnVy actually executing the game plan, which is something they have not been good at in the spring, but have shown a little bit better here in the summer. And that'll be really the question of whether EnVy can transition into, you know, definitely not a last place team, but then mid-tier team, a playoff caliber team.
Exactly.
Where would they fall if they can actually get this mid to late game together? Because we know their early game is some of the best. And early indications in this game is that they're still running their game plan despite falling behind early.
Oh, Trump lands in onto Lyra. Knockup's going to miss. Repel's good. Blastcone's better. Piglet chasing him, but Hako is going to poke him down. TL onto mid lane though. Seraph late to this rotation. Doesn't want to burn the TP. Daisy out as well for Rainover. Shov's going to miss. Looking for Golden Glue, I believe. So now Hako on the flank with the cover, but that turret's already dead. Seraph might try and salvage the back end of the fight.
Yeah, and as they're retreating to their turret is when you see Seraph and Apollo coming to the lane. So they're going to try a counter push of their own right here because they have the mini wave and TL's a little bit low, but it's going to be dangerous.
Might need to dive. No good wall from Pyrion to be able to secure it. Stun lands in onto Matt. They're going to chase him down. Seraph doesn't quite get the Cataclysm. Battle Dance, sorry, gets him out of the way, but the turret is going to be traded. EnVy once again able to react well.
Yep, match the Team Liquid push mid. I still credit Team Liquid for having the proactivity to make that play. It was EnVy who had to respond to it, which is opposite to what we've seen a lot of Team Liquid do this year, where it seems like they're kind of doing nothing, and then their reactions haven't even been good on top of that. And they're scaling towards the supportive items that they want. They have the Redemption on the Ivern. They're building up towards a Locket. They're getting the crit scaling going on Piglet, and Golden Glue is stacking up. So things I think are going well for Team Liquid more so than EnVy in the early game.
Yeah, we can see EnVy, they're still up about 1,000 gold, so things looking okay there, but the teams are on such similar footing as far as total power level goes. We will have to check in with kind of our next major fight. And I think our first major engagement will very likely be around this Infernal Drake. It is one thing to kind of split them. Like, oh, good, we each traded one. We've had a lot of trading of objectives generally has been the theme of this first game. So, I mean, if we talk about TL having that good team fight and EnVy having the tools to snowball the game, if they can find the right angles on the fights, Infernal Drake's where the party's going to be at in about a minute time.
Yeah, and EnVy is going with some mid-game scaling items there. The double haunting guys you see on the Elise and the Talia are pretty big right now because we see no magic resistance on Golden Glue, Piglet, or Matt. So 3 people that could be very vulnerable to Pyrion or Lyra's Assault. Aside from that, though, Team Liquid isn't fully scaled up, so EnVy would be advantaged in this fight.
You can also see Piglet has finished his Hurricane, so he's very strong for the next engagement. A little dark on the map here for EnVy right now, camping a brush. Piglet's like, yep, I know exactly what's happening there.
Gotta be so careful.
Does catch a few, but maybe a stun landing in. Matt does get the charm in on Battle Dances back away to Piglet, but a massive charm on a Seraph as he dove into the backline, and Piglet is looking to go down. Apollo able to snipe him down there. Seraph with the ulti in onto Golden Glue. Hyperion trying to force him back away. Ace in the hole. He's gonna get the double kill. Apollo lands the execute.
And Team Liquid needed to be so careful, but was not actually very careful. Piglet kind of nearly face-checking where they had to go, and EnVy again collapses faster. Seraph with a much better TP than Lorlo to collapse into this fight.
Now Infernal Drake will be the prize for EnVy. Apollo also gets a big minion wave in the bottom lane out of the deal. But if we're looking to tip the balance on the Drakes, the second Infernal and the last one for this game does go over to EnVy. It's been a much cooler Ocean Drake coming up as our next one, but I don't think the momentum's looking to stop anytime soon for EnVy.
Yeah, this is not Pokemon. Ocean does not actually counter
No,
Infernal in this game. Quite the opposite, really, especially later on. But watching this fight one more time, they're using Rainover's weapons against him. They hide in the brush. The Piglet goes up to check, but it's the teleport that comes in. And the match from Galio is slow and then canceled almost immediately. So TL then has no chance of actually sticking with this fight, even though they had a lot of people low. Galio enters that fight, protects Golden Glue. Rainover's still in there. Maybe they'd have a chance, but they decide to call it off. They lose 2 and the Infernal Drake.
We'll see what EnVy do now with their freshly made gold and second Infernal. Looks like Apollo's getting things started on the top lane. EnVy with 3 outer turrets, but looking to pressure into those tier 2. Seraph, not rooted there by Piglet, doesn't quite have enough feathers to CC up Seraph, who is tanky-ish with the Titanic and the Black Cleaver, so it's not too troublesome. Pakua, camp and a brush. Decent bit of poke there onto the front line of TL. And EnVy just feeling like we're going to fight. Matt again going to look for the play, but Seraph not going to eat it. Now Lyra looking for Piglet, and he gets destroyed. That was ambitious.
Yeah, Piglet is fed. That's the one guy who's quite strong right now. You check out the gold as well as his items, and he is 1,500 more gold than Golden Glue, who's sitting in the mid lane right there. So TL really just wanted to group up. They have not had good communication, good cohesion, and this defensive game has gotten them picked off a little bit. So when they group up, they feel like they'd be able to play those team fights right. They have the shielding items onto Rainover, and Piglet just kind of on the side of the fight goes and makes a big play.
Exactly, man. You want to be ahead as Lyra missing that cocoon and just kept trying for it, but he got disintegrated.
That was really cool, actually. So Piglet threw out all the feathers with his Feather Storm. Lyra sidestepped it, but then Piglet flashed behind him to get the Blade Collar that destroyed Lyra on it. So really quick little outplay there, expending his flash on ult, but getting the kill.
Yeah, you can see Lyra, ever the aggressive player, is going basically full damage Elise, which is pretty common. I think I would say standard, actually, for current Elises, but it does mean you don't live very long when you're trying to 1v1 a fed 80 carry. Piglet on the warpath right now. Blade of the Ruin King building up. Shouldn't be too much longer till he has it. And like we mentioned, in champs, like plenty of protection for Piglet if he wants to go make a montage or two.
Yeah, and the Blade of the Rune King is actually something I pretty heavily disagree with. I feel like the Infinity Edge on top of the Essence Reaver and Hurricane is just an absurdly powerful spike, since Xayah has that crit scaling in her kit as well as just being an 80 carry and Infinity Edge being a great keystone item in those builds. So losing out on a lot of damage potential for a little bit of safety, I feel like. Not a great trade-off.
Curious to see if Piglet actually completes the blade or maybe looks for IE now. Wall cutting them off. Piglet isolated, but on the right side towards his base. Root there landing it onto Seraph means that will disengage all of EnVy's potential engage. And while Barret is available, not for EnVy feeling quite so bold, especially without Tyrion's wall. So fumble on the play. TL defend nicely, and now back to pushing waves with Piglet. Or getting caught in their own jungle. Don't want to do that one. Have to be careful here. Both teams, again, jostling back and forth for Vision, and Apollo, he's been side lane status for a lot of this game. He's getting top lane going.
Yeah, and Apollo actually does that a fair bit. Apollo generally tries to get experience advantages on the enemy AD carry by side laning. Piglet's just doing it more. He has 5 levels over his support, actually.
There's a high number as TL have actually cut EnVy completely off here. Going to be able to take down a turret. Pyrion looking for a shot, and they need to try and nail down Piglet. Engage onto Pyrion. Means he's absolutely dead as Piglet able to get that first one. Here is Entrance. Going to try and peel it all off as Lyra just caught amongst all of the TL team fight. They're just moving forward in a death ball. Able to take down the next one. Piglet now going to grab the double as they keep going. Rakan does die as Apollo able to get that snipe. So engagement will stop. But TL 2 for 1 plus a turret.
Yet they poke off Pyrion's Banshee's Veil. Matt gets the initiation, and Team Liquid was trying to play as conservative as possible in the early game because they know how strong they can be in a 5v5. We see a small amount of that right there with Matt's initiation, and now they turn for Baron.
Oh, Daisy leaps into the pit. EnVy's still here to try and get them off the Baron. Lola getting poked down heavily. Lyra with a good stride will get some vision back, but Piglet needs to keep cutting around. He does not have his ultimate, so no extra safety, but Apollo also needs to be awfully careful. Gonna miss that net, not get the headshot. Now gonna try and Peacemaker onto Golden Glue as Lyra barely gets away with the repel towards the Casio, but Golden Glue still moving forward. Flashes, he gets the kill. Golden Glue might make it more as EnVy still trying to fight it out, but at least they got TL off the Baron.
Seraph.
That Seraph TPing in, finds right over. Apollo gets the kill before he can land it, and now Golden Glue has to book it. I don't know if you want him back there.
Yeah, that's rather dangerous.
Ace in the hole almost takes down Piglet. Golden Glue stays. Might be setting a trap at this point. Pyrion finds him, though.
They're trying to cut him off.
Yeah, Pyrion looking for it, but the wall's not quite there. Golden Glue looks for the ulti, but I think something didn't quite go right. Pyrion blows up Golden Glue, and now Matt's trapped on the wrong side of the rift. Pops a quickness for just the movement speed. And now dances uses the W to move away, but Pyrion just flashes and grabs the double. And now it's EnVy's turn for Baron.
What a disaster right there for Team Liquid, and it really just feels like they are not on the same page as far as when to go and when to fall back, but EnVy is. So EnVy re-engages as they make a Baron defense with 3 people, and now they are the ones that turn straight onto Baron.
Well, Baron is getting low, but TL are kind of here to maybe clean up the back end of the fight. Pyrion is trying to zone them away. Baron is not going to go over to Lyra because he doesn't have smite, but he's going to make it there in time. Apollo able to hit it down. Lolo chasing it onto Pyrion, but now has to ult back towards Piglet. TL get no kills out of the deal. EnVy secure the Baron, and everyone else is alive.
Yeah, Ocean Drake will be up, but that is an afterthought with the Baron. Watching this, Piglet gets a lot of poke on the back of the fight, so can't really follow with Golden Glue. You can see Rainover and Piglet were actually turning back to Baron as Lolo flash engaged for the taunt, so that doesn't have the impact it should have. If Team Liquid turns his unit, they might actually kill 2 or 3 people, whereas if they just had Golden Glue zoning out everyone else and the rest of the team stayed on Baron, they would have had Baron. They could have done either one if they just would have picked a call and gone with it, but they don't. They lose Rainover. Golden Glue sticks around while everyone else is recalling. They're potentially telling him to defend against Baron. But the wards kind of show where the fear would be, so people pretty boldly go through to check. They find Golden Glue, Matt tries to save him. Meanwhile, everyone else is back in base. Really just everyone scattered across the map, and EnVy group up. Pyrion makes some nice outplays, gets the double kill, and secures the pick.
Yeah, Bench is there for Pyrion by the looks of things, and he's now 3 items strong on Talia. Leandre's and Riley's all done. 3 items and a QSS for Apollo, and Seraph is get there on the Randuins actually, not going for the ever-popular Stone Plate, but a nice chase against Piglet, who is the strongest member of TL. And with all that being said, EnVy with 2 minutes to play with and the Baron buff, a pretty big gold lead could extend even further.
This is one of those games where Piglet would be expected to 1v5, so to speak. He has a lot of support on his side. Double redemptions. The Ivern to help him out. A lot of early game kills. But I don't think the Blade of the Rune King is what's going to get him there. He's not going to be able to do enough damage in these team fights if they get the right setup, but still have a very strong team fighting composition. They have to repel this siege by EnVy.
Rapid Fire Cannon's going to help out for Apollo as he and Pyrion team up for the second tier 2 turret. That's mid and top now gone. TL grouping, maybe hoping someone takes the awfully lazy way between the lanes, but EnVy have been pretty good about doing things the standard way here. Big trap line there for Apollo. He's just going to step forward and try and poke. Oh my goodness, Piglet has no health left. That was one headshot with a Rapid Fire Cannon.
And Infinity Edge increases the damage of your crits. So when you do it, you have more damage in this stage in the game. Apollo showing his gold lead as well over Piglet, and this will just enhance EnVy's siege.
Well, Piglet immediately goes back to base. That looked, that was pretty dirty actually from Apollo. Able to siege from a fairly long range, and now the turret's going to go down. Actually, oh, we haven't talked about this yet. we have triple Energizers. Warlord, Static Shiv, and RFC. After the Rune's change, Hurricane Head, who was in this patch, we did expect Caitlyn to kind of dip away to that Static Shiv. So not only is Apollo able to do a lot with kind of all those charges, but it does happen a lot quicker. Yeah,
he stacks up very, very fast. And this is kind of the new Caitlyn build. Longer range, more burst damage because you're getting Static Shiv proc off in the right situations. Man, 6 turrets down on this TL team who doesn't actually have that much playmaking, so they're hoping that EnVy overdives and they can get some nice turnaround, but it's going to be tough.
And we've seen them just use Pyrion's Wall so effectively in a number of different games already. I mean, this is kind of the comp that we've done so much macro work in. His poor Piglet loses about 40% of his health on that little shot. Must have not been a headshot there for Apollo. He also has a last Whisper in case he didn't have enough damage.
Is Piglet the one clearing traps? Like, I really have to ask because they have a Galio that would take much less damage on these traps. And then Piglet wouldn't have to keep going back to base.
I mean, Apollo is just demolishing everything he shoots at this point, so he's going to stay mid and start sieging. Hakuo behind him in case he needs to rescue him quickly. And now Seraph with the TP bottom side, Pyrion with the wall. And Lyra behind him on the top side. And at some point, something has to give here for TL. Either they go for a play and get picked off, or their turrets start crumbling, because EnVy are happy to hold this pattern for quite a while.
Exactly. They could even wait until the next Baron or an Elder Drake after the next Ocean, because they have the patience right now. And it has been also a problem for EnVy in the past, closing out games, so you wouldn't want to wait too long, especially if that allows the rest of Team Liquid's scaling to kick in. But in this situation, when they're clearing the whole jungle and not actually suffering any casualties, and the fact that they did actually have a very strong Baron power play there, plus about 5,000 gold, no reason to panic or do anything crazy yet.
No, and they're close to 10,000 gold ahead, and Lyra was clearing blue side jungle camps on his side of the jungle. If you're wondering how confident EnVy are feeling in their hold of the map.
That kind of tells you that they are not looking to dive very soon. Potentially pretty risky too, and here's the little jungler. 6,000 units away from the rest of your team, but they're almost just banking on the fact that Team Liquid's not going to do anything. So Matt could theoretically make a big engage when they're spread out like this. That's kind of Team Liquid's way out of the base right here, but they can't do it in the mid lane because of all the traps, and Laurel's off in a side lane, so no one can actually step on those traps to clear them, and they feel pretty handcuffed in their base right now.
Yeah, slowly but surely. EnVy will continue to build a lead. Thankfully, inhibitor turrets do regen, so it takes a lot of pot shots to try and take them down, but EnVy looks like they're mobilizing, going to move some people back and set up for the next objective. You can see Ocean Drake in 50 seconds, Baron up in a minute 20. EnVy wanting to make sure they can fight for something other than just a siege, as Mortal Reminder now finished for Apollo. He is a Mercurial Scimitar away from being the scariest Caitlyn I've seen in a while.
Yes, absolutely. He's huge. Just need the Ardent Sensor to come through on someone.
What are you doing?
Up or a Knight's Vow somewhere, but they don't have the champions to build those items necessarily. The Gargoyle Stoneplate, probably next item on Seraph. That is the thing you do on Jarvan, as you mentioned, oftentimes before the Randwind's Omen. TL's out of their base, though. Hoping to group up. 40 seconds to Baron. That's where they want to get
the fight. You can see rushing over there like, this is our one chance to get vision before everything goes bad again. So smart from TL actually to move on the objective. Lolo, you're a tank. Woo. Technically, Apollo is ignoring a lot of that right now. In fact, he's just barraging down mid lane now, shooting everything inside. I think it just doesn't matter. He almost might be moving towards the next area EnVy tells him to go to, because he's destroying everything in his path.
That was a bunch of damage right there. Lolo can't tank for long in these fights.
That felt like 3-ish autos.
Yeah, everything hit at the same time. I feel like Talia probably had something to do with that as well, but Apollo playing with a lot of impunity right now, and that's when you want to see Matt do the flash engage and get something crazy off. But they don't have the same type of Orianna chaining you would have on someone else, but even have a Rakan fly in and then the Galio fly in as well to create that frontline zoning. Team Liquid's just not doing that teamfight cohesion at any point in this game.
No, and because they're not doing anything, Pyrion is free pushing a top lane and trying to break down the inhibitor. But kind of last piece here for EnVy. Seraph might catch him in rotation. Reina getting shot. Almost going to go down. The red buff's not quite enough. Seraph gets grounded, but Pyrion cuts them all off, and Piglet almost dies in an instant. Lyra does finally get the kill. Seraph lands the dunk and takes down Piglet, and Pyrion jukes around the ulti of Golden Glue. Hakuo flashes forward to secure it as Pyrion is going to get the next kill. He's on a killing spree. Matt is running as far away as he can go. But even if he lives, his base will not. Team Liquid in shambles.
Yeah, they have a minion wave that they are patiently escorting up towards the Nexus turret. So Lorlo's going to try and clear him away. That would be the only thing that would extend this game at all, but it's not looking very likely.
But who's winning in support or combat, chat? That is the real question. No, never mind. It's going to be the Nexus we pay attention to. Hakuo does flame out on the other end. Lorlo's going to be the last piece of the puzzle in EnVy's ace. He will live back towards his fountain, but the Nexus will not be so lucky. EnVy, yet another win. 1-0 up over Liquid.
And they just demolished Team Liquid in that last fight. It felt like Team Liquid never really had the cohesion to counter what EnVy had, and that wasn't the story that we were telling with EnVy in the last split. It was always EnVy who looked like they were spread out, or EnVy who didn't have the right vision control and would face check a bush, but that was not the case in this game. They were much cleaner, much more cohesive than Team Liquid in this game, and despite having a little hiccup early, they closed it out well in 36 minutes.
They did, and the thing I love there is when they have Pyrion pushing that top lane and kind of threatening a split push, as soon as they see TL to turn around being like, they're answering Pyrion, Seraph without hesitation dived into the front line and they just started a team fight. Because, I mean, either way, EnVy were going to win that situation, but the speed in which they knew what to do is what impresses me.
Yeah, and they knew what to do very quickly, and you saw that with a lot of their teleports. Seraph does need to be credited right here with having the communication with his bottom lane and arriving at the right time. That very rarely happened in the spring split, and especially in a team with two import Koreans right there, has had communication problems in the past, but it did not look like the case in this game.
No, certainly not in the first one, and now we're going to throw it over to the analysts to see what they make of that first game.
Thank you, Pastry. And as we take a look at this, EnVy still hot on the heels of all the teams, now heading up the list a little bit more, but this is only a win, not a match. They still have another one to go before they take down TL, who had a lead in the beginning of this game.
And that's kind of the story for Team Liquid, is they can often get leads but can't really do much with them. EnVy kind of go for this weird skirmish. Pyrion as a misplay gets blown up early on, and that looks good for a scaling team comp for TL. They also got a dragon, and things are looking great before they start making mistakes in the mid game again.
Yeah, and I like how in the cast, Jat talked about the game where they were against CLG, and CLG gave them 4 kills in the first 4 minutes across the entire map, and then they lost that game. This kind of harkens back to that, where you have a scaling composition, you just got handed a bunch of gold, you should be able to play standard and then have a really good chance in that mid-late game, because their composition, I don't have too many beefs with this composition, except that we were talking about it where the Cassiopeia could be an Orianna, which I consider like a better Golden Glue champion. They need to have another shield for Piglet, right, who was actually going off in that game. And then this composition, they just didn't allow the time to come where they could take those fights.
And that's the weird thing for me, is just because they kind of threw it back a little bit in the mid game, and then like as you watch, Pyrion and the rest of EnVy start grouping up and they start blocking off turrets, and they just mow down the outer ring of turrets a little too easily. Not like a ton of resistance on the side of TL, and like we said, maybe with the Orianna you can go for the flash recon engages, easily followed up with an Orianna ultimate, and the Cassiopeia just didn't seem to be doing a ton, but the whole team wasn't doing a ton, to be fair.
And if they were doing things, they were doing them separately.
Yeah.
Which really, that big Baron that went over was the thing that I was like, oh my God, TL do not look like.
And that's exactly where we're going right now. Perfect. 26 minutes in, let's get this on the screen. It looks good for TL. They start being the catalyst to their own aggression and results, and then this happens.
And the thing for this is, EnVy kind of flubbed their engage. Pyrion took a lot of weird angles in team fights. This time he does get punished for it. Seraph kind of goes in late, but their mid laner's already down, so it's an easy kill. After that, TL looks at the Baron buff, but they're all over the place. They can put brushes on it, they can burn it down, they have a lot of damage. They're kind of zoning Lyra, who's not in a great place to really contest here. And instead of turning back right now and finishing Baron, Lorlo and Golden Glue keep pressing forward.
Yeah, why is Golden Glue leaving the pit like that? He's going for kills, but now they have to stop doing the Baron. Their Cassiopeia, who almost had full mana, left. It's like, you just threw at that point.
And right, you no longer have the enhanced recall. You're all out of position. Seraph respawns, teleports back in, able to start cleaning these kills up. And Pyrion as well, spawning and start having his Talia wall up again, starts cutting people off. Golden Glue camping this brush, but they know he's in there because the topside jungle's all warded up. Process of elimination, he's in that brush. And then Pyrion, flashing and getting aggressive there, finishes him off.
It's outplayed.
Yeah, Matt not able to get the W off, and it's just too many kills. And after this, EnVy gets the Baron, and they're in control the rest of the game.
Yeah, really just completely different pages. Lorlo went for a flash W taunt. Nobody else is in the vicinity when it goes off. So it's like, all right, either we're all peeling off now, Piglet, get your butt over here, or we're all just finishing the Baron, and one person can go off and like stop Lyra from coming in.
It becomes a quick loss of just where the game is at itself. Not knowing your jungle is that warded or having the potential to clear it at that point in time when you're trying to do a Baron, and it results in that means that TL was a little farther behind than just those plays. Looking now at 36 minutes, the game-ending fight kind of rounds things out here for EnVy as they were able to touch this on.
You gotta give a lot of credit to Pyrian's Talia. We talked about that weird angle he took in the last fight, kind of got him killed. This time, plays a little bit more patiently, flies in the backside, walls them all off so they can't get out. Matt tries to hop the wall. On the meantime, the rest of the four-man core of EnVy is burning down the front line of Team Liquid.
Yeah, Pyrian really just stood out this game on this Talia. We've talked about it multiple times. He can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah.
He can't keep getting this champion.
We've seen two great performances in terms of champions, Talia and Ahri. And the Ahri is something that a lot of people aren't going to blind. So just ban the Talia, get rid of it. They spent a ton of bans on the top lane. You still have Jarvan for Seraph. He has a wide champion pool. I understand trying to keep him off a couple of the annoying split push carries, but they gave up, Pyrian's bread and butter champion to do it.
And that's the thing too, is like this champion helps EnVy so much with macro game where they can have those flanks where, oh, you can't actually disengage this fight. Or they go up to turrets and they actually just wall off turrets and pick up the turret. So really, it just helps him out a whole bunch stylistically.
We're talking a little bit about Seraph there. He is able to grab the player of the game in this first game of the series here. A lane bully, clutch TPs coming in as well. We saw a few there help to end out the fight on TL.
Yeah, 30 CS advantage in lane. We see that Galio is this extremely strong champion in the top lane. People try different counter picks for it. You see a lot of them be physical damage bruisers, Renekton's, Fiora's. You have the Jarvan here, and as long as you can hold the Galio down, then you end up much stronger in team fights because he's not able to tank quite as well if he's not as beefy as he wants to be.
Yeah, and you're definitely going to actually just shred the armor as well with the pass-through of the Q. And the fact that he's also able to put pressure on the backline of Golden Glue and Piglet is really big. So I think the Jarvan, I know I'm not always a big fan of that pick just in general, because it's very hard to slot into compositions when it doesn't have an ultimate up, or when it is or when it's trying to drive the backline and it's not like a front-to-back bruiser tank. It's more of just a diver, right? So you do need some way to follow that up, or at least they need to have carries that can't really get away from that.
And one thing that's interesting for this game, too, is the fact that Lyra didn't actually have a great game. Usually we talk about Lyra kind of going crazy, and it's nice to see that EnVy can win without him getting them a massive early game lead or something like that.
Yeah, actually threw it over to TL at the beginning by Pyrian and Lyra both dying very early on.
Well, before we go to commercial, I just want to ask one thing. The Talia, we know to be banned. TL's on blue side now. What can they focus? What should kind of be first in their mind to get things going?
It's tough to say just because when you talk about Team Liquid, a lot of it doesn't come down to draft. Like we were saying, this is a fine draft. You had an early lead. You're scaling later. Orianna maybe is a better last pick there. But at the same time, you had a lot of advantages, and you just don't ever seem to be on the same page. The early lead, throw it away. Get a big team fight victory in the mid/late game, mess up around Baron. And it's not something that's going to be fixed with the champion.
Yeah, completely agree.
It's really about coming together in game for TL at this point. So we'll see if Team Liquid can even up the score when we come back with Game 2 against EnVy. Don't go anywhere. You know that.
Continue.
Cocoon's one on. Now chasing in that first blood from Matt, actually, as he flashes in towards it. Propel up for release. No, we're good to go for Lyra, but he does have flash. Not enough. Piglet able to get the second kill for TL.
Going back. Just to take their red. Get our blue, and then we go to their red. We get bot.
Nice. Ivan here. Casio ulti down. Okay. Okay. Casio flash. Nice. Baby die. Nice.
Almost dies in an instant. Lyra does finally get the kill. Seraph lands the dunk and takes down Piglet. And Pyrian jukes around the ulti of Golden Glue. Hakuo flashes forward to secure it as Pyrian is going to get the next kill. He's on a killing stream. EnVy, yet another win. 1-0 up over Liquid.